Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Thriving Thursday. Actually, the last Thriving Thursday of this year, of the decade. Kind of freaking out a little bit about that. Going into 2020 with perfect vision and looking clearly, and I'm full of puns. I'm going to be doing all sorts of puns next year, so I'll warn you about it now. Really excited to be welcoming Pat Salzer back to do a presentation on healthy eating on the run. Thinking that this is very timely since many people are going to be traveling over the next couple weeks. So if you cannot see the Thriving Thursday screen, let me know. But I'm going to go ahead. I am going to let everybody know that this is going to be the last actually formally scheduled live Thriving Thursday presentation that we're going to do. We think that doing the live Thriving Thursdays are kind of difficult for people to sort of work around. So we're still going to be offering webinars and different presentations and that sort of thing, but they may not be regularly scheduled live ones, but more things that people can access on their own time. So always looking for feedback and suggestions for what types of topics people would like to see. So if you have an idea, you can always email me at ghmwellness@gatehousemedia.com. Before we do get going, as always, I just kind of want to make sure that everybody understands that the information that we are providing in here is meant purely as informational. We are not providing any type of medical or anything that you should be talking to a medical professional about. This is really for your information to kind of take some tools and resources and see what may or may not work best for you and your family. So hopefully you get some good nuggets out of this one. I am really excited to welcome Pat back. She's been with us for a couple other presentations that we've done throughout the past year. So if you enjoy this one and you haven't heard the other ones, please go out to the YouTube channel, our Simply Good Life Wellbeing channel, to see some of her past stuff. If you don't know how to get there, again, send me an email at ghmwellness@gatehousemedia.com and I can get you that link. So quickly, a little bit about Pat. She has been with Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield since 2004, and she's a workplace wellness consultant and resides in the Utica, New York area. She has a degree in dietetics and management from SUNY Oneonta and has been worked at places like St. Luke's Hospital and Heritage Health Care Center in her roles as a clinical nutrition manager and area support dietitian. And then she really became passionate about the world of wellness because she wanted to consult with employer groups to help provide workplace wellness opportunities and proactive steps towards improved health. She lives with her husband in Clinton, New York, and she is a food and fitness enthusiast and enjoys combining socializing with cooking and physical fitness and traveling. She and her husband often participate in volunteer vacations, which sounds pretty cool, through Habitat for Humanity, including Malway, Africa, and Thailand. She says these are truly trips of a lifetime, and she is also the president of the Mohawk Regional Dietetic Association and takes improv classes in Utica. So Pat is a really exciting and well-rounded person, and we're very happy to have her here. And Pat, I am going to give the controls over to you and ask you to go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. Glad to be with you today as we talk about healthy eating on the run. Which, as Sarah said, is such an appropriate topic this time, especially with the holidays. And when I think about the holidays, I almost start thinking about before Halloween to Super Bowl Sunday because it seems like there's one thing after another. And I know some people that have bought the Halloween candy, and by the time Halloween comes, they need to go back to the store because they ate what they bought. So I would like to give you some practical tips that'll really help with all year long because we're always on the run. We'll talk about what healthy eating is, what gets in the way of healthy eating, and then healthy eating is part of a healthy lifestyle. We'll talk about what else is part of this overall healthy lifestyle, give you some practical tips for home, for restaurants, and more. Right now, about 1/3 of us do not get in enough vegetables, fruits, dairy, and oils. We get in more of the solid fats than the oils like olive oil. We're eating too much sugar, too much saturated fat, too much sodium, and definitely have more calories in our diet than our ancestors did. Plus, we're way less active than they were. So you put those two things together, and that leads to some problems. Healthy eating is part of this. What else? Physical activity, preventive health screening. So getting your colonoscopies, your mammograms, your flu vaccines that you need to get, and also healthy eating. For some people, their food groups are caffeine. I know many people set up their coffee pot the night before, sugar, salt, and fat. But what we're really looking at is My Plate, where much of your dish is made up of plant-based foods, so lots of vegetables and some fruit. So really half of your dish to be made up of the produce. And then some grains and some protein and some dairy, whether it's considered a dairy product or a non-dairy. Some people like the almond milk or the soy milk or the coconut milk or oat milk. So this is just really a framework, and then you can do what works best for you. For some people, their protein is that meat. For other people, they prefer the vegetarian sources of protein, the chickpeas, the kidney beans, the edamame. What all these have in common, though, is really lots of vegetables, no matter what type of diet you prefer. Right, there are some barriers to healthy eating, and they do include lack of time. That seems to be a big one for people that people mention first and foremost, that they just don't have time. And I do know if you come home from a long day at work and you have no idea what's for dinner that night, and maybe you have chicken, but it's the brick in the freezer, it's just too hard to put a healthy meal together. And then what might then happen is pizza being delivered to your door. And then to have the energy to cook, and then some of those resources. We do know fast food is convenient. It's sometimes cheaper than healthier options, unfortunately. And then vending machines and prepared foods are everywhere, and sometimes they're not the healthiest choices. When I think about how food is really everywhere in our society, you go to the gas station and they happen to have gas there. They have so much food too. So here are a few questions, and if I could have a couple people answer these. Are all fats bad? Some fats are better for us than others, such as the olive oil, the canola oil. So not cannolis, but canola. What do you think about snacking?
And I just want to let people know that if they would like to comment or answer any of these questions, on the right-hand side, you have the option to, ask a question. You can send it to all, you can send it previously. So that's a way to communicate with Pat. And I can also, behind the scenes, try to figure out how to unmute everybody.
Snacking is okay, depending on what we're snacking on. So if it's potato chips and ice cream, it's not quite what I had in mind. If it's an apple, that's a really good snack. Apple pie is not that fruit delivery system that I was thinking about. Does sugar cause diabetes? It does not. People with diabetes, though, need to be careful of their total carbohydrate intake. Dining out, can it be healthy? It can. It does take some effort. Well, I have some tips for you, including looking up that menu ahead of time because it's easier to make a healthy choice ahead rather than on the spot. And also, if you're the first one to order, you might be more likely to order that healthier option. But if you go later on and you're swayed by other people's decisions, that makes it more challenging. Skipping meals usually really backfires with weight loss. So, one thing to keep in mind is if you get hangry, that might really be counteractive with this too. And then if you end up overeating later on. All right, so break the fast with breakfast. We've gone all night without eating. Hopefully, you've gone all night without eating. So, breakfast is a really important meal of the day. With that, though, I have to say that you need to do what works best for you because I do know some people that are very big on having breakfast shortly after they wake up. Other people wait a couple of hours before they have breakfast. Other people are doing the intermittent fasting where they might go really for prolonged periods of time without eating. And there's not one direct answer that applies to everybody, but it does seem that breakfast does help many of us with our energy level, our metabolism, our concentration. The thing is to have those healthy breakfast options. So not necessarily the donut or the sugary cereals, but to get some type of protein and fiber with your breakfast. So oatmeal with, let's say, some berries on it for the fiber and some nuts, maybe a spoonful of yogurt too, or an egg with some extra vegetables that you had made from the night before. Those are some other ideas for breakfast. We do know that skipping meals for many people leads to them overeating later on, and it's hard to get in all the nutrition that you need if you're skipping a meal. It can affect your energy level, your productivity, and help with storing fat as a survival mechanism instead of breaking down that fat. So an idea is then grazing, and this is the small frequent meals. People do frequency fine. They don't necessarily make them small because this is where portion control really does make a big difference. And this is to graze on those real food groups when I showed the plate. So Greek yogurt might be another option, a handful of nuts, a piece of cheese. If you are trying to make changes to your diet, one thing that's really important to do is not to eliminate all of your favorite foods at once because it really comes down to everything in moderation. So I do have some tips and tricks for you for mindful eating because mindfulness is just so important in every aspect of our life. And to really change our mind, we've got to change our habits. So for some people, they do well all day long until after dinner, and the dishes are not even put away yet or not even dry, and they might be going back into the kitchen to get something else to eat when they're probably not really hungry then, but maybe they're bored or they feel this is finally a time of the day that they can relax. So an idea is to put a list of other activities to do on the refrigerator, and instead of mindlessly going to the refrigerator, you can take a look and see, oh yeah, I could call a friend. I could do some stretches. I could go for a walk. I could clean out a drawer or read a book. When we do eat with purpose and with intention and mindfully, it's such a difference compared to mindless eating. If we're eating mindlessly, then it takes more food to feel satisfied. If we're not giving that food our full attention, so when I think about what people might be doing that they're also eating mindlessly, I often think about watching TV on the computer, reading, driving. So just to be aware of some of those. And then also talk very kindly to yourself. And sometimes we're our worst enemy and really put ourselves down. So to be kind and gentle, we're looking for progress, not perfection with this. It all comes down to a plan. So what I like to think about is a survival kit, some type of food kit. And this is where you would have some foods available in your drawer, in your briefcase, in your car, maybe at the cooler at work or an insulated lunchbox. especially if you're traveling. So to have some healthy foods available, so when you do get really hungry, you're not going towards those unhealthy choices, let's say in the vending machine. This is a way to get more of that produce in, knowing that we need to eat so much of that. So fruit is nature's fast food, and fruit is so portable and easy. So to grab an apple or a banana or some grapes or a pear and have that available. Some vegetables, whether it's cut up raw vegetables, it could be tomato juice is your vegetable that way. Nuts are one of my favorite snacks too. This is where portion control is really important also because nuts have fat in them. It's a good fat, but they're high in fat. So for almonds in particular, 23 almonds is that magic number. If you buy a container of almonds, it's really easy to eat those mindlessly. And before you know it, your hand touches the bottom of that can and you're thinking, who can I blame this on? But if you were the only one eating it. So an idea is to take that container of nuts and divide them into snack-sized bags. 23 almonds is that magic number for a portion, and then you can keep those in strategic places, your drawer, your briefcase, your car, and then this way, wherever you are, you do have that portion of nuts for the day to snack on to help you get to the next meal. Also, sometimes we're not really hungry, it's that we're thirsty, and so the best thing to do is to have a glass of water. And then people have their water bottle that they bring with them. All right, a few tips about eating out. Salads can be very healthy, or salads can have more calories in them than a cheeseburger and fries. It really depends on what is on the salad. So if there's lots of bacon and cheese and dressing, that can really defeat the whole purpose of it. And so a little bit of dressing is definitely good and offers another layer of nutrition and flavor. But if it's swimming in dressing, then that's when we get in trouble. So an idea is to get the dressing on the side, and then if they give you a lot, you don't need to pour the whole amount on. So maybe even ask for a small portion of dressing, and you can always ask for more. Another idea is to split a portion. So maybe what you do is you split an appetizer, split an entree, split a dessert. If you're getting dessert anyway, why not just split it? And at least with that, you're cutting back on the calories with all of those courses. Maybe you can ask for a smaller portion or a healthy kids meal. One of my favorites is to take half of that meal home. And this way you get another meal out of it, not for that same night after dinner, but for another time. So you're really saving money and you're saving calories that way because often the restaurants give us so much food. So maybe you can skip the bread and the butter is another idea. Typically at home, we don't start off sitting at the table waiting for somebody to cook for us, eating a loaf of bread with butter on it. But if you go out to eat, it could be easy to do. And then they bring you your entree and you ask for more bread to go with it. I would say, though, if it's a really good bread, I'm having that bread. I might then bring home that baked potato for another meal or that side of pasta. So this is where you really have choices and whatever works best for you. If it's just you kind of average bread, maybe it's not worth it. And then take into consideration too the cooking methods. So we know fried foods will have more calories in them from that process of frying them. However, if let's say if the seafood is broiled, but if it's swimming in butter, that defeats the whole purpose of it as well. So ask for how it's cooked and ask for substitutions that they can make or modifications. I find more and more places are so accommodating. Right, for fast food, if you do take into account the nutrition information that is available, you might have to ask for it, but you would be able to access it. So to look at the portions, the calories, the fat. So this is where you really want to stick with that regular portion and not the bigger portion. You can see the difference with some of these different sizes of burgers and fries. And then be careful of some of those extra sauces because that's where many of the calories also come from. All right, so here's a couple questions for you. And you can just say the answer to yourself, and then you'll see which food option has the most calories. Is it Subway's foot-long sweet onion and chicken teriyaki? Or is it McDonald's double quarter pounder with cheese? Or is it Dunkin' Donuts chocolate chip muffin? All right, I'll give you a couple seconds, and then we will see. It's the Subway foot-long chicken teriyaki. Couple reasons. A foot-long sub, it's a lot of bread, and the sweetness and the teriyaki sauce will have quite a bit of calories too. The chicken's okay. That might be misleading when you take into account the rest of that item. All right, here's one more question for you. Which food option has the least amount of sodium? Is it the 6-inch spicy Italian sub? Is it the hamburger? Or is it the plain bagel? And it is that hamburger that has the least. The spicy Italian, that is such a processed food that will have a lot of sodium in it. The bagel, even though it does not taste salty, there's salt in the processing of that bread item. So that's the thing too. Some foods don't taste salty, but they might be because they're more processed. Other foods have more of that surface salt on it. Let's say if you had a potato and you sprinkled a little bit of salt on it, you're going to taste that sodium in it, more likely. However, overall, there's not much sodium in it. So the hamburger does not have as much. The bagel has more. But also the bagel, it's like 5 pieces of bread. It's a large amount, too. So it really comes down to having a plan where you plan your day, because you plan your day for work, and also take into account your plan for nutrition. So this might be where over the weekend you do some meal planning and preparation to make it easier during the week to have some healthy foods available. And then if you're traveling too, and you're in the car for quite a while, if there's even an opportunity to take a break and at a rest stop, let's say, and just walk around a little bit and stretch your legs. Or let's say you're flying and you're at the airport, if you can, after you check in and everything that you need to do, walk for a while, because then you'll be sitting on the plane. So if you can come up with a plan for physical activity and also for nutrition, just like you plan your deadlines and your projects for work and for home, to have a plan for your meals and your snacks and your opportunities to eat. If, let's say, you know it'll be a later dinner that night, then what can you have earlier so you don't get so hungry? And that might be those 23 almonds or that piece of fruit. It really comes down to having a plan. So to plan for when you are at home and when you are eating out, and even to plan, let's say, for holiday parties. So if there's an opportunity where you can bring something to that party and it's a healthier item, you will benefit from that and others will as well. And at parties too, just to be really careful, because it's easy to overeat at a party, especially when there's a buffet of really good food. An idea is to take a look at everything at first to see all of your options, and then pick a couple, 2 or 3 of your favorites, and maybe some of those foods that you don't necessarily have all year long. So if it's something you can have any time, maybe you save it for another time. And also for the holiday, it's a holiday and not holidays. And that's where we get into trouble, is when every day is kind of treated as a holiday. And if we end up eating until we're Thanksgiving full each time. Also, when eating out, if you do bring something healthy, let's say hummus and some vegetables, and then this is something good for you to have, something others will appreciate, you're getting more vegetables in. And also, if you go to that party really hungry, again, it's easy to overeat. So to be careful of that. Conversation is calorie free as well. So just to keep that in mind, to not park by the buffet table, but to take some food to enjoy it and then to mingle and catch up with people. We do know that the more people we're with, the more likely we are to eat, because somebody's always eating. So there's an opportunity for then you to have another bite because they're having something to eat. And then somebody else is having something to eat. So not that we can control how many people we're surrounded by, but just to be aware of that and to eat mindfully with that. Pack with that survival kit, whether it's something you're bringing to a party, something for your travels. Eating healthy is a lifestyle commitment. When we look at our health, though, and how valuable that is, and it does take some time and effort to maintain it, however, in the long run, we are so much better off because what is priceless is really feeling good and being the best you that you can. So with food, too, I think about how you can have it all, just not today. So that's where that portion control comes in as well. And then whatever you can do to get some extra physical activity in, knowing that there will be times that you're eating more than you normally do or that you normally should be eating. So if the family's together for the holiday, is there a way to go for a holiday walk too, or to do something physically active besides the eating and besides, let's say, sitting and watching TV? So instead of maybe a movie, it's going for a walk together. So those are some of my tips for eating healthy on the run all year long.
Thank you so much. That was really great. And I think, one of the things as we are going into, the tail end of the holiday season, a lot of people probably start focusing on New Year's resolutions and are like, well, I'm gonna, like you said, eat everything now. Every day is a holiday, and then I'm going to, quote unquote, be good the start of the year. And a lot of people have difficulty maintaining those types of, all or nothing resolutions. So just, like you said, Pat, it's a lifestyle. It doesn't mean you can't have what you want. It just means you can't have everything you want at one time. So setting those realistic resolutions that you can actually be successful at and feel good about, and and think about too, what are you doing well already and how can you build on that? So we all kind of get sucked into this thought process during the holidays of going a little nuts with the food. But I think with some of these tips and planning, especially planning, we can definitely be successful during the holidays and beyond. If anybody has any questions, we will open them up. If you would like to, on the right hand side, you have an option where it says questions, and you can open it up and let us know. I'll wait a couple beats to see if anybody has any.
We typically gain a couple of pounds during the holiday season. The thing is, we might not lose that. So after a decade or so, they can really add up.
Yeah.
And like you said, Sarah, too, about New Year's resolutions. So how good it would be is if we don't have to go into that with making all these resolutions, because we're a little bit more conscious during this holiday season. And I really like your point, too, about adding on to a good habit that you have already. So instead of really depriving yourself, think of what you're doing well and how can you improve that even more. But again, it's looking at progress, not perfection. So don't beat yourself up, because not one meal or one day will make or break you. It's really looking at that long-term pattern that we have.
Exactly. And trying to find those realistic ways to work things in. So, well, Pat, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much. I hope you and your family have a healthy and happy holiday season. And for those of you who joined us, I really appreciate your participation this year. And again, to you as well. Have a very happy, healthy, and safe holiday season with your family. And I am looking forward to seeing what kind of fun things we can do with our wellness community next year. So thank you all, and to all, a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.